I have paid my mortgage in 2 years at the age of 31 years old in the UK with a very simple immigrant background, not being from this country, not being from any sort of privileged background, but I had to change it a lot and challenge very basic ideas we all have in our minds. And once I changed them, now I'm here, essentially financially free. Here is the exact list I've made of very specific things I've done. My background is I was born in Belarus in a quite an unprivileged country, but I left it when I was 17, traveled a bit until I ended up in the UK at the age of 25, 7 years ago. With that, buying a house was extremely important for me and my husband, because for us, unlike many of our British colleagues, we did not have the option of going back home. Like, having a house was literally our only safety option. And now the trap that makes most of the people stuck. I believed in this thing, and while I was doing that, I would never buy a house. And this is basically the illusion of a dream home. The reason I'm saying this is an illusion is because it was actually artificially created after the Second World War in the US. When they needed to accelerate the economy fast, they started to invest into a ton of marketing campaigns. Selling dream homes was one of them. They were showing them on TVs and showing it to people that owning a dream home is your must-do and is your success in life. And that's why many people who approach buying their own house, they do not approach buying just a house. They approach buying their dream house, which is of course expensive. And because it's expensive, they end up with a mortgage for the rest of their lives. My friend Pavel, who is a real estate expert, he challenged this assumption a ton. He is like, Natalie, you don't need a dream house. You just need any house, because once you own it, you move into being an owner, from a renter to being an owner. And from that now on, your life dramatically changes. So buy any house. If you don't like it, you rent it out. If you don't like it, you sell it out, but you become the owner. And I realized I want to become the owner. And of course, knowing that we are not buying a dream house, we needed to understand what type of a house we want to buy. So me and my husband, we made the list. Our goal was to still be very comfortable, but not to overpay for anything abstract. So we made a really specific list to avoid agents taking us into this romantic home approach, which they always do. Like, you enter any house and the agent tells you, hey, here is your dream home, your kids will live there, your dog will stay there, and they try to allure you with this like dreaminess. And like, of course, once you fall in love with the house, you like absolutely want to have it. So we knew we cannot afford this emotional attachment to any of the objects we are looking at. So we made a very specific list of things we actually needed. We work remotely, so we actually needed a new 2-bedroom house. We needed good energy performance because we don't like being cold. We work from home. It's important, and it's ultimately the money if the energy rating is low. So basically, if the house is low, you'll pay it in terms of bills, and bills are very expensive. But we knew that we can have no garden. Why? Because we don't use it, and this is a comfort, but this is a part of our dream house, which is our next step, not our primary first house step. And crucially, we decided it won't be London. Why? I'll tell you in a second. As I mentioned, I moved to London. I was a typical immigrant in London, working 9 to 5 at Google before I left. So it's a very typical corporate job. And it was very important to not do another mistake that many people do, is maxing their mortgage out. We did not max our mortgage out, even though we almost wasted £750,000 on this beautiful penthouse. Just look at this penthouse. It was in a very posh area, which is called Gerrards Cross. I lived there and I absolutely loved that. When I looked at this penthouse, it was like, this was a dream home, and I knew I could afford it because our joint affordability back in time was £750,000, and this penthouse was cost precisely that much. But we knew that if we get it, we are making a mistake. How does a mistake look like? Let's look at two options. One is you max out everything you can take from the bank, and the other option, you cannot. Imagine in both cases, we pay 30,000 deposit. This is how much we had, and everything else is basically the mortgage you own. We decided that we can comfortably pay £2,000 a month so that we still have some money left for ourselves. And if you try to forecast this situation for 10 years, you'll see that even if we only paid £2,000, in 10 years, we're gonna still owe like £70,000. And we're gonna have equity of almost £180,000. Equity means how much we have, like the net worth. In second case, we would still have the mortgage of 720, almost as much as we had, and the equity would be just the deposit. So in 10 10 years, we would literally make no financial progress. Despite this would be 10 years, we will be working really, really hard to pay our house out. So this is, I think, the very important mind shift is don't max out your affordability. Actually go into the lowest that you can go while keeping certain level of comfort. So we ultimately got a house that was 1/3 of our approval, and this was a £250,000, 2-bedroom, around 60 square meters house in Milton Keynes. And now I'll go into the relocation. Once we understood that our budget is not 750 or anything around that, we realized we need to move outside London. And there were like very, very strong arguments pro. We both work remotely. What kept us in London was like a habit. It's like we just only lived in London, and friends. Then we realized we only see our friends maybe once a month because we're always like tired or busy or traveling. London is basically a place where if you invite 20 people for brunch, only 5 will show up because everyone else is traveling, which is very common. And as much as I hate, London is objectively expensive. How do you calculate that? Average house price in the UK is £272,000. So my house is like very average price, and London is £564,000. And you may say, okay, but you make more in London. You do, but not as much. Housing in London is over 2 times more expensive than in the UK, but you only make 1.44 times more. So London doesn't make you as much money as it increases your cost of living, and we could definitely feel it. We got a very good experiment because we actually rented outside of London for 2 years. COVID kind of helped because I got into this program where my job allowed me to work remotely, so I could work remotely for few days a week. With that, having tried living quite far. I lived on the west with 20-minute train commute, and I found it absolutely lovely. And living outside allowed me to understand that actually there is life outside of London. And one last big thing. Did you know that in London you can buy a house like a flat and still not own the ground below it? This is called leasehold, and this is a very old law dating to like 12th century, where you literally buy a flat but someone else owns the ground below this flat. And because this person owns the ground, you actually owe this person the fee for using their ground. But also, if you have the block of flats, it will have something called service charge, which is basically a subscription to have your house maintained. Sounds reasonable unless you see how much this is. These prices are quite often unreasonable. Anything we looked at London, the service charges were starting at £3,000 a year. And now, as you remember, as we are looking into becoming more financially free, we realize we don't want to get into the trap of a recurring £3,000 annual cost for the rest of our life, because it literally breaks down the whole model of paying off the house. So we knew that we need a house, because once you own a house, not a flat, you own a ground below it, and you don't owe any other fees unless like some exceptions happen. But it took us 56 objects in a lot of towns and cities to find something we like. So we checked St. Albans, checked a few towns on Elizabeth Line, we checked everything we lived around like Chalfont, St. Peters and Charing Cross. We went to Loughborough, we went to Luton, we went to a ton of places until we found Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is a city that many people in the UK laugh at because it's like a very unusual city, but what we found, it has quite a good ratio of prices versus quality of housing, because we really wanted to have a new house. And if you're looking to something like that, Milton Keynes is fantastic. This is where we found this 2-bedroom, over 60 square meter house for ultimately £250,000. So it's not enough just to find the right house. It's also very, very important not to generate some additional costs. And if you go back to the myth of a dream house, there is another thing attached to it, which is pretty bad, is buying expensive furniture. When I spoke to my friends at work, because I was not the only one to buy housing, but all of them went into buying this really nice, luxurious flats in London, I would often hear them saying, hey, I bought this couch, it's equal to my monthly salary and it will arrive in 6 months. And this made me wonder, why is a person telling me they bought a couch that is equal to their salary on the same day they're complaining about their job? So my other principle when it comes to being financially free, paying off my house, and getting safety is to make sure if I have to work at a job I don't like, and I have another video about why I left the job. So I didn't want to do things I don't want to do on a daily basis and then spend all of this money somewhere else. We realized one of the requirements we had towards our house is to actually make it pretty ready to move in. And we only invested into the furniture that was very, very basic. The couch I'm sitting on, the beautiful couch, by the way, £400 on Wayfair. You cannot see it was £60. The set of tables, maybe 180, and they look really good and decent. On top, the furniture gets much cheaper really quick. If you want to sell your very expensive couch, it will be very expensive to sell because you'll need to transport it, and sometimes transporting your couch is actually more expensive than the couch itself. So basically, when we knew that we're buying the furniture, if you ever sell this house or if you ever rent it out, it just stays there. And our bed is £80. So probably we didn't spend more than like £600 on all the furniture we had, plus standing desks. And like ultimately it was not even one of our salaries, which of course contributed a lot into making the whole housing and moving experience really easy. Another thing is we actually started living a lot more frugally. Before I worked at Google and I received my monthly salary basically for whole my life, it made me really undisciplined with money because I knew new money comes. It was quite easy for me to spend like £300, I don't know, on an LED mask or like £100 on a massage. And it's not that I'm denying buying these perks, like trendy outfits for myself, because I don't deserve it. But even if we go down this route of deserving things, I know that I deserve not owning anyone any money, having my own place, and I deserve working out of a sense of abundance, choosing my clients, choosing my job, and not going to work because I have to pay out the house, okay? This idea to me sounds like the ultimate self-care, and I wanted to pursue it as much as I can. It could have been easier for me because first, I am the athlete, I live by the gym, and I only cook at home because this is like the foundation of my life. So with that, I don't have entertainment outside of home. I don't go out to eat that much, and I don't drink alcohol, so I save a ton of money. I generally gave up massages, facials, expensive gadgets, buying outfits that I don't need. If you tell me to go back to my Google job and tell people, hey, I got all of my clothing from Vinted, I would be so ashamed to say it until maybe now, until I'm saying this on this video. And ultimately, like really diligent money habits. And here's where I think mortgage is actually a good thing, and I came up to an idea that mortgage is actually a very good thing. I was saving money, so I was saving on my ISA account, I was saving on my pensions account. So basically, like very basic things that you need to save money for your pension in the future and to have emergency fund now, I was having that. But having a mortgage made me recently look into every penny I could spend, like every coffee. Think if I want to spend the £4 on a coffee or if I want to put this £4 into a mortgage. This is how strong I've been thinking about paying off the mortgage, and my husband did as well. Some of the things I became diligent with were making sure I do all of my returns. When I return the clothing, making sure, or like an item, making sure the money actually arrives, because sometimes the company would just miss it out. So I had the list of like things. So even like small, any cashbacks, like top cashback, I would do that. So basically, I would just like having a goal of not losing money out of being like stupid or missing them up. And one last financial habit we had is actually paying mortgage early. So you have mortgage payments, and we structured our mortgage payments so that we were paying £2,000 a month. Or there was interest and there was the body. What people often do, even around me in my neighborhood, I know they only pay the interest, meaning that they actually subscribe to their house. And if you only pay the interest, it means that you essentially rent out. So you just spend money and you don't save them. And we wanted to save as much money as we could. So we maxed out the payment of the body of the loan. So we were essentially paying out the house and paying some interest on top. It was always £2,000, but with over time, the interest was lower and lower and lower. I think we started with like maybe £1,000 or £900 of just interest, and we ended up with like £300 of interest until our 2-year fixed term. And our mortgage was 5.9%, which was probably highest in the market for a very, very long time. And one other really cool life hack that mortgages have is you can pay them early. Of course, the bank wants to pay you for as long as possible, because if you pay longer, you'll pay more interest, as we saw in the model. However, the bank has certain moments where you can actually overpay for free without a fee, or sometimes overpay with 1% fee. So what we've done, we've looked at all the dates where we could overpay. As the date of overpayment approached, we were making sure we're making the most out of this, because it was actually free money. By paying as much as we can, we could make the body of the loan smaller, so the interest from next month would be even smaller, right? So we would save even more money. So ultimately, all our steps of paying off the mortgage were we found a cheaper house at 1/3 of our affordability outside of London at £250,000. We got the deposit of £30,000, made sure we would overpay mortgage as much as we can by living frugally, like really frugally for some time, for some shorter period of time, extremely frugally, by being really disciplined with money, both making sure we don't spend them to the places we don't need and we don't lose them for stupid reasons like forgot to return something. And we would be really, really careful with paying the mortgage on time, but also overpaying while we could. And now we had a 2-year fixed rate. What does this mean? In the UK, bank gives you a fixed rate for your mortgage for 2 years, and then this rate usually goes up. And our goal internal with my husband was to pay everything in 2 years until the end of our fixed mortgage comes. A reminder, I started the business. It was a very risky thing. And believe me or not, this is like the craziest part. The business was going ups and downs. I was going ups and downs. But believe me or not, our payment term was 1st of September. And my summer, from June to August, was absolutely the best business revenues I've ever had. Clients just came in, and also I had so much energy to process everything really, really fast. So I ended up in September with like the highest ever free amount of money among my company that I could pay to myself finally, so I didn't pay off my mortgage. There was a lot of like calculation there, but I cannot dismiss the fact that having the deadline so close somehow subconsciously made me make more money or just influence the environment around me, so that I actually had it by the time we knew we have to pay our mortgage out. And now, how does it feel now? Well, it's just been 2 months, but I have to say that I've been launching more risky projects at work. It's been an absolutely precious feeling of finally working out of abundance, not out of scarcity. I need like to chase the mortgage and actually be quite